Welcome to a new episode of Indie Talks, in which I'm hosting movie makers from indie world, action, stuntmen, fight choreographer, fight coordinators, performers to discuss their work, influences, compulsions they're facing, experiences, achievements, and advices. Today's guest is an American movie maker, indie movie pioneer, action director, fight choreographer, fight coordinator. He's well known for his work in Divergent, Kickboxer Vengeance, Logan, Mandalorian, Lucifer, and many more. He has been making films for many years. I consider him as one of the elite indie action movie makers. I welcome Mr. Emmanuel Manny Manzanares.
Hello. Thank you.
Hello, nice to meet you, Manny.
Nice to
It's
meet you
been
as well, finally.
it's been a pleasure
Yes.
to get you to the podcast.
Thank you for so
It's a
much.
huge
I
honor.
apologize for the schedule.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, that's secure all the time. It's been a pleasure to have you on the talks, of course. All the performers, all the directors, or everyone involved in the action world should have a martial art background, of course. Let's go back to your debut in martial arts. What is your early martial art background? And how
Uh,
many disciplines did you practice?
not too many. Like I started originally with Western boxing,
Yeah.
and that was around like 5 or 6 year old, and then that wasn't in a class or anything. It was kind of done through the family because I'm Mexican, so my
Ah,
family
okay.
coming
Yes.
from Mexico have had a boxing background. But I got into formal martial arts with Okinawan karate, Goju-ryu style, and that was I was 7 years old or so, and that was at a local karate school in the neighborhood that I grew up in. I studied there from about 7 to about 14, so a little bit almost 8 years. Um, and then after that, I just learned a variety of different things. Again, nothing too formally, more informal.
Ah,
I
okay.
learned
No school, nothing. Yeah, just
Yeah, it was mostly because I met other like-minded martial artists, and so the way we would train was to share our disciplines, which was nice.
okay.
So I learned a bit of Muay Thai, I learned a bit of Filipino Kali, I learned a bit of Judo, a little bit of Aikido, um, some capoeira, things like that as
Ah,
I grew
yes,
up.
yes.
But it wasn't until like my early 20s, once I had met Keith Min, and Keith Min and I, who became part of LBP, he
Ah, okay.
was trained in Shaolin Five Animals and Shingi and Bagua and things like that. So he started more cementing and supplementing my kung fu training. So we would do a lot of different lessons together, just between him and I, or between other people in classes. And we did that for about a few years, maybe about 3, 4 years or so. But yeah, beyond that, nothing again as formal as a lot of the other guys.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Most of indie guys started not formally, of course, and
Mhm.
yeah. But the ones who did starters are more as performers than camera operators or directors. They prefer to perform
Mhm.
because their physical abilities, I think.
That's true. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
definitely seen that.
yeah. Uh, what is your the first fight scene you have ever done back in the
Uh,
days? I
and
mean, you
I mean,
choreographed
I've
and shoot.
done when I originally started doing fight scenes. I did them in high school. Actually, we would do a live show, and
Ah,
it would be
okay.
it's kind of like a talent show, right? A demonstration
Ah, okay.
that the school does between the students. And normally there's a day where students of different cultures and nations kind of show their heritage, or perhaps maybe a modern take on their heritage. Uh, but the club that I joined, the group that I joined, was the Chinese club,
Ah,
and the
okay.
reason why is because they were the only club doing martial arts demonstrations. So I had worked with them and just helped them, develop moves. But that started again from my love of watching Hong Kong cinema and watching different martial arts movies at the time. So we got to do stage work, and we got to kind of create these, stage fights and things like that. And those are really fun to do. And that's how in that high school is how I met the original members of LBP, and we worked together through that group. But it wasn't until about 2005 that I kind of finally got the courage to take a camera. I asked a friend to borrow a
Yeah.
like a high camera, just a tape
Yeah.
camera,
Yeah. Yeah.
and and then figure out how to shoot fights. But I didn't know what to do at all. Obviously, I started
Yeah.
like everybody
Yeah.
else. We
It's
just kind of
difficult.
tried and
Yes.
never went to film
To
school or
say a
anything like
story to
that.
the fight, to make choreography. Yeah.
Yeah, we just did it for fun. So those never really got edited because they never really were meant to be edited, if
Okay.
that makes
Yeah.
sense. We
Yeah.
kind of just shot for fun for
Yeah. For
ourselves.
fun. Yes.
Um, but it wasn't until the following year, 2006, that I released something early June, I want to say. And that was one of the first things that I put together and posted on the Some People forum at the time.
Did you?
But it was thanks
Okay.
to
No
people
YouTube. No
like,
YouTube at that time. I think you didn't post that on YouTube. YouTube just started at
well, it was YouTube,
2006.
but it was pre-YouTube as well.
Okay.
So
Okay.
there was a time on the Stump People forum, because even Eric would do that, right? Nobody
Yeah.
was actually posting on YouTube at that time,
Yes.
early 2005. Actually, prior to that, nobody was posting
Yes.
YouTube at all until
Yeah.
YouTube came out in 2006. And then slowly everyone started, moving their files over, because when I was on the Stump People forum early, I remember seeing the forum probably around 2002 or so, I want to say 2001, 2002.
Okay.
That's where, like Eric and Blad, a lot of the original guys that were posting were sharing the files through servers. So you had to download the
Yes. Yes.
files,
Yes. Yes.
to your computer. But as many people know, not all of us had cable or high-speed internet at that time.
Yeah.
A lot of us were still using the telephone, right? The
Yeah.
dial-up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I remember, for example, downloading Stuntblade Alpha. It took me 3 days to download.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
It was so slow to
so
download.
exactly.
Yeah. Now
Um,
there is
and
five
I had to
versions.
find a similar, I forget what it was called, some kind of file hosting site. Not, it might have been Mediafire, it might have been some other site that hosted a server. But I remember when I first posted the video that I was talking about, it was not on YouTube yet, and it wasn't
Okay.
until I think it was either Eric or Vlad that, or both actually, probably started posting their things on YouTube, that I said, okay, well, it's free and I don't have to, wait and pay a service, so I'll
Yeah.
just go post there. But yeah, I want to say that was early June in 2006 was kind of the first
Right.
fight
First,
that
first
we
of
that
step.
we
Yeah.
posted.
One of you. Yeah. That's the early step in your career. Everything has a
Yeah,
beginning, of course. Yeah. And yeah. Look at you now. Now yeah. You're making you a big name for yourself there. And
thank
yeah.
you.
I know LBP Stunt Chicago is the name of the group you created years ago,
Mm,
which is the name of your YouTube channel, of course. How
yep.
did you come up with the idea of LBP Stunts?
So there was a friend of mine in Chicago. He had aspirations to be a screenwriter, and he also liked action films and things like that.
Yeah,
And he's Puerto Rican and Filipino, me being Mexican. So we had this joke between us, because there's obviously a joke in the U.S. where minorities are normally seen as lazy, right? In the
yeah,
sense of like if they're from Latin countries or things like that.
yeah,
But obviously, they're not, right? They work in different sectors, different places. So the joke for us was, if we made a project together of some kind or work together, we should call it Lazy Brown Productions, right?
yeah,
Which is kind of how the group started. And from there, everybody that was on the team was a
yeah.
minority. So to go into the
Filipino, yeah,
history of it really quick is, when I started the group, it was five of my friends. We had people that were Chinese, that were Puerto Rican, that were
okay,
Cambodian, that were like Italian, Vietnamese, a lot of varying minorities. And it was myself and five other gentlemen, all from Chicago. And I was the main person, shooting and editing everything, but I would also try to perform as well. So normally in those old videos, I would perform last because I'm busy kind of directing and choreographing the other guys. And we would go and just kind of try to do, I think the first year, we would try to do, let's say, maybe a fight every week of some kind. or 2 fights a week. We wouldn't take as long as we did before. I want to say when we first started, we probably started like 4 to 6 hours ish, something like that.
Ah,
But
okay.
until we got more serious and things got better for us, then we started spending 7 or 8 hours, right? More of a full day. And it was through posting on the Stump People forum consistently that that's where Sean, who was from a suburb, he's not actually from Chicago, so
Ah,
he's
okay.
kind of like in a town outside of Chicago,
Ah, yes.
and he started. He would post on it, and he reached out to me. I want to say actually through MySpace at the time.
Ah, yes, yes.
Uh,
It was very famous before Facebook and
but uh,
platforms.
but he had seen the videos. He saw that we were from Chicago. He saw that the videos were slowly getting better, and he had asked if he could come and train with us. And at the time, we started training in downtown Chicago at a university through one of the members, Alex Hashioka.
Ah, okay.
And so Sean would take the train from the suburb, from the town into the city, and that's how we met. And then when Sean met everybody, we kind of all connected through very similar interests. We like the same movies, we like the same kind of humor, we like being around each other's energy, and because everybody had different flavors and styles of everything,
Yeah.
I felt like Sean was a nice kickstart and contrast. And he was also much older than us because at the time we were, I want to say 20 or 21. A
Yes.
lot of us, are maybe at youngest 19 or 18.
2005, I think. Yeah. It's true.
That was actually 2007 that happened. So we met Sean in 2007,
Okay.
and uh, Sean was about at that time I want to say 27.
Okay.
So because he was born in 1980,
Ah, yes.
and so from there, even though he was older than us, we all acted more or less the same. So it was very nice, collaboration together. And then from there, we would start shooting even more. And because we had more of a dedicated space to practice, we would go every Friday, and we would train from about, I want to say, either 12 or 1 p.m. to probably 6, sometimes 7, 8 p.m. And sometimes we wouldn't shoot every time we trained, but what we would try to do is if we knew we were going to shoot, we just shot all day in the space that we had. And luckily, the space kind of had like puzzle mats at first, and then it became like this wrestling mat, this rollout mat. Um, but from there, that's where we started developing kind of everything, our curriculum of things, right? We learned how to do falls in those kinds of areas. We learned how to do a lot more choreography that was different. And so we would train in there and then try to take it outside and then shoot things and
Yeah.
do bigger stunts, do bigger things. Because, that's what we saw Eric and Vlad do a lot.
Yeah.
They started from shooting inside or on places in grass, and they eventually started, developing costumes and developing locations and things like that. But yeah, it was nice. It was it was a great time at that point. And then everybody else that came, like Keith Min and the Jesse Bayani, they came in around 2008 because we did a short film together for this John Woo contest called Ruthless, where Sean was the star of it. And it was through that collaboration that we all basically became the old LBB team that most people knew of that time, pre, 2010, 2009.
Yeah.
That was pretty much the team up until that point.
Since you mentioned Eric and Vlad, let's discuss the history of indie action cinema. Which other groups influenced you beside Eric and Vlad, and how was it working with these groups?
So I remember finding this community, and it was even before it was really a community, but we were all on this website called Project J back around, I want to say 2000, 2001.
Yeah.
Because I had just gotten a computer. Well, not myself, but the family had gotten a computer around 99. And so, when the internet was kind of wild and free,
Yeah,
you just
yeah.
kind of searched up and found stuff. And I remember being really into the Jackie Chan at that time, quite heavily, and looking more into his Hong Kong work. And I found a website called Project J, which is, broke down various facts about Jackie, broke down various clips about his stunts and his fights, which was really cool at that time. And it had a message board on there, uh, forum now, which is what essentially Reddit is now in a way.
Yeah.
But in that forum, there started being the people that would start posting their own versions of Jackie Chan fights, right, from around the world. And the two people that I remember prominently was Zero Gravity,
Yeah.
and then
Is
some
it
people.
created by Tony Chu, Zero Gravity?
I believe Tony Chu and oh geez, I'm forgetting the other member. There's an older member as well.
Yeah, yeah, I have seen
A
Latif
couple different
Crowder
guys.
also.
Because
He
it
was.
was well, into their history, just so you know, there's Kerry Wong, there's Tony Chu, and there's one other gentleman that kind of more or less formulated the era of that. And then from there, they had met Sam Locke, they had met Latif, they all started training and working
Okay.
together. That's how they met Aaron Tony eventually down the
Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then Ken Kitagawa and Roy Chen
Yeah.
and things like that, other people.
Kinkitigawa also was
Yeah,
member. I didn't
yeah.
know that. Okay.
So, but for a long time, it was really Kerry and then Tony and a few others at their beginning, essentially.
Yeah.
And so I think it would be either Kerry or Tony that would post. And from there, Eric started posting, right?
Yeah.
The Stump People's early works. And, you know, in the beginning, watching it, it was kind of humorous, right? It wasn't really great, but it was fun because these guys were just trying to, you know, essentially copy Hong Kong cinema. And it was this nice, almost like a backyard, independent way of doing things. And eventually that led to me finding Eric's website, right? The Stump People
Okay.
forum, because he would have his site with little clips, and then he would have reviews, right? When he would review Hong Kong action cinema and little breakdowns, and then they had a forum on that site. And then I don't remember what happened to Project J, but eventually, you know, it got lost in the wind. I
Yes.
think people would go onto Zero Gravity also had a website, and they had a forum, but I never really went on that forum too much. I did go on the website to see their videos, but I didn't really join the forum because it felt like, for me at least, with some people, the community was more people my age, more people of my era,
Okay.
and everyone was kind of starting the same. Like Eric was very upfront about, you know, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's just a fan. He's just really just trying to have fun with his friends.
Yeah.
But eventually, the quality would get better, and then from there is how, you know, I started seeing Vlad's work. And so essentially, the first real three were Zero Gravity, Eric, and Vlad that I would see the most.
Okay. Yeah.
But the Some People forum allowed me to see, you know, people like Z Team, and then Young Masters,
Okay.
eventually
Yes.
Andy
Yes.
Long,
Yeah.
you know, Jay Huerto, Fernando Jay Huerto, Jabroni Pictures,
Did you know the
Joey
Young
Mitt.
Master as well at that time? I have
Yeah, I
seen.
mean, Young Masters were young at the time when they were posting. I want to say they were teenagers,
Yes. Yes.
maybe 14 or 15 when they first posted,
Okay.
which was amazing because they were very
Yeah.
young and very talented, you
Yeah,
know,
they
and still are.
posted a fight scene in like a backyard, you know, with that VHS camera.
Yeah,
Felix
yeah,
Lawrence
that's what they
making.
used to do
They
back
made
then.
a
And
really
they didn't have
well done
any
fight scene at
editing.
that time.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, again, like you have these kinds of talent from all these young talented artists. Like I was saying, besides Jay, there's Joey Min. There's a couple of people from Canada like DL McDonald and Alex Chung. There was a bunch of people. Just it led me to see so
Yeah.
many out there. And but for a long time in that group, which I did appreciate, is when people would post, it's kind of not like how it was or is today, where everyone is kind of like, great job right away. Everybody was quite upfront of, this is not good. I wouldn't do this, or maybe try this. Like everyone was very critical.
We
It,
say
it was it was critical in a very blunt and straightforward, but still respectful manner, if that makes sense. So I never felt the critiques were meant to be mean or malicious or, you know, dismissive in any way.
yeah.
So when people would post and get those critiques, they started reposting more work and more work, and eventually it would, you know, it became the level of what we eventually saw with after like Immortal, for example, from Stump People. It would be like the level of Stump Blade Alpha, eventually of Contour, right? With Vlad, with like Orowemi. I think there was
Yes.
Time was another one. You know, all of these eras, everybody started eventually becoming way better. in their realm. And it was through Vlad's work that I saw Real Kick, right? And what Real Kick was doing with Sam Hargrave and Daniel Stevens and Thayer Harris, Alex Wynn, again, all of these now being bigger, prominent stunt coordinators and
Yeah,
fight coordinators.
yeah, now they are.
They're,
Yeah,
um, so it after watching all these people do it, eventually I was like, well, I want to do this, but one, I didn't have people or the money to have a camcorder or the money to have a computer to do editing. So I had to eventually save up, and I had asked some friends to borrow some camcorders, and I just decided to do what Eric and Vlad did, which is to go and shoot things on my own with my friends and not really have too much of a plan. And that led me to do what I do now, right? I've done the same process and thought over time, to do that. And that's what inspired me and got me to inspire my friends to try to do the same things that those guys were doing.
yeah, yeah. And a lot of young from the young generations were
Mhm.
also influenced by you, like Brian Sloyer, Jake Wan, and
Mhm.
Andrew Franklin, Amy Sturdivant as well, and many more.
Yep.
Yeah,
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 there's a lot of amazing young talent that's out there right now, doing different variations on what a lot of us have pioneered. But really, again, if it was not for Zero Gravity kickstarting, Eric and Vlad,
yeah,
and Eric and Vlad kickstarting myself and all these other independent artists, and really all of that stemmed from Hong Kong cinema, right? So yeah, we were all just big nerds.
yeah, yeah. That's
Just
yeah.
movies.
Everyone, yes, yes. Everyone who has the passion to make film, action film.
Yeah.
Actually, I was also had this passion to make a short, but I didn't have a network here of performers and the people who has the passion. But after all, I did some few previous fights, a short called Brawl. I have done it like 2014. Yeah, but I'm trying to do something in the near future.
That's awesome.
Since we mentioned Eric, I know you have made a short with him called Flower Thieves in a
Yes.
backyard. Yeah, with Sean Bernal.
Yeah.
You made a great fight scene in this short. How was it like being working with Eric?
At the time, it's all really thanks to Sean, because Sean allowed me to work with everybody from the community. Because at the time, and this was, I think, true of most of us, we didn't have the money to travel. We didn't
Yeah,
have the
yeah,
money to really network like how people do today.
yeah,
And none of us thought working together in any form was kind of a big deal at all, because again, it didn't seem very realistic. But once we saw, for example, like Vlad and Eric working together for a while, and then eventually Vlad working with Real Kick, it was like, oh, well, it's perhaps possible to see these interconnected groups work together. So Sean was the catalyst to say, we were doing, well, we were trying to do a feature at the time, which was called Those Who Go to Hell. And we were inspired by Contour.
at the
So we tried to
German.
do a very similar approach where we tried to make, instead of a feature, we would break it up into these 4 episode chunks that were, I think, supposed to be about like 30, 20 to 30 minutes each, something like that. So it would amount to almost an hour and a half. And, again, we had no money, and we all were kind of pooling together money, and it never got finished because, we didn't really know what we were doing.
Yeah,
But in the process of doing it, it was Sean's idea, and thanks to him, to say, okay, let's start to involve the other independent groups that we respect, and let's see if we can all work together. And besides shooting scenes for this movie, let's also see if we do our own kind of quick independent fights, right, together, practice fights or whatever. And that's where the term test fight kind of started, I remember. And so what we did with Eric, going back on that, is Sean had reached out to Eric and asked, if he was available. And Eric was already used to having people over at his place to stay, like if they needed a place to stay. So we looked up tickets to San Francisco. We had asked the entire stunt people if they would like to be part of this fight scene that I envisioned in the garage. And so that's where we met, like Ray Carbonell and Dennis Rule, obviously, Ed Kahana, Troy Carbonell, Ray's brother, Sean Finney. I met another friend of mine, Derek Lee, and then obviously Eric, and I think a couple other people as well, Steve Yu.
Okay.
Um, so from there, we all banded together and worked together on this fight. But in between that, before we left, Eric had an idea of, hey, why don't we shoot a fight in my house, right? And something very
Yeah.
simple and quick.
Yeah.
And so he decided, yeah, me and Sean would be thieves, and we're just trying to, steal something in his
Yeah. Yeah.
place,
Yeah. It was
random thing,
funny. I
and
have seen
then
the
Eric's so good at looking at things like Jackie, right? We're using props and using different ideas and whatnot. Uh, and then in the end, it was decided, well, he'll fight Sean, right? That's just why I'm stuck in the bathroom, and then that way I can shoot, for them, because we only really had a day or so to do it. And so that's what we did. We just thought it up together. Eric brought his friend Pete Lee, who I also met, and then Pete helped us out one day, and then we started shooting a fight for it. And then after that, we cleaned it up the day that we were leaving, or the day before, something like that. And yeah, it was very nice. I want to say we stayed there like 5 days, 5 or 6 days at Eric's place,
okay.
shooting for the future, but
Yeah.
we only really spent like a day and a half on Flower Thieves, and it was a lot of fun. It was a
Yeah.
different style and different way of working. Obviously, Eric has a process, but that's what was so nice about working with everybody is we had to adjust and adapt to everybody's style, and obviously they had to adjust and adapt to my process. But because a lot of us, again, being from the love of Hong Kong cinema, having such references that we knew of types of shots or moods or tones or choreography, working with the stunt people at that time was very easy. It was it felt very natural. I felt like, and no disservice to all the other teams that we got to work with. They were all wonderful and great, but definitely the stunt people and Vlad were the most that we connected with
Yeah.
right away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meaning it was very much easier to work with them. Our processes melded together really nicely, and we just understood each other, right away without, kind of like
Yeah.
a secondhand
Yeah,
thing,
because
which
we
is
have
very
one reference, which is Hong Kong. Vlad told me you don't need,
yeah
for example, to explain a move. Once he
yes
mentioned the scene from the Hong Kong film, yeah, everyone understand what they have to do in the shooting. So
exactly.
there is no complications for all of you.
Yeah, it was true, and it was a lot of fun. So yeah, it was thanks to Eric and thanks to Sean to giving us the time and graciousness to do that, and it was a very fun fight to do
Yeah.
at that time, and it was awesome seeing Sean and Eric. We didn't speed. Our big thing was not to speed things up because at the time we all thought that Hong Kong cinema was the actual speed, not
Yeah.
understanding that they were shooting at 20 to 22 frames sometimes. So Sean and Eric went that actual speed. That is the actual
Ah,
speed
okay.
that
Ah, it was
are
so
going.
fast. So
It's
fast
not
shooting.
it's not it's not sped up at all. And actually, at times we had to slow them down because the
Okay.
moves did not look so good, right, going that
Yeah.
fast. So they had
Ah,
to find a
okay. Yeah.
balance.
Yeah. Okay. To
But
slow down
again,
the
yeah,
frames.
yeah, we didn't slow down the frames. We had
Ah,
to ask
okay.
them to slow down literally.
Okay. Ah, okay. Yes.
Because if you start doing this is what it looks
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
It doesn't look so
But
good.
right, but even if you're here, then this looks better
Ah,
than
yes.
just this, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we had to kind of figure out and do. But it was fun.
Yeah.
It was
Really
really fun
fun.
working
Yeah.
with Eric.
That's the beauty of indie action cinema.
Yeah,
It's not about money and benefits. It's all about heart and love and yeah,
it
fun.
was. Yeah, a lot of
Uh,
passion as well.
yeah, I know your story with Vlad when you brought him from LA to Chicago to film I'm a Crazy Man. That
Yes,
was your first cooperation with Vlad, I think. How
yes, it
long
was.
you spent on this short?
So the creation of that short, again, thanks to Sean Burnell for that, because Sean, after we had worked with the Stunt people, we wanted to see if Vlad could come to San Francisco. But San Francisco and LA obviously is quite not quite far away, but far enough. I think it's about
Okay.
6 to 7 hours driving, right? By plane, it's less, but again, most of us had very simple jobs at that time, so
Ah,
it's not like
yes.
we had the money
Regular jobs, yes.
to just do take a plane, or go somewhere. Um, so Vlad said, one day if you guys visit LA, we'll work together, right? And so then Sean eventually thought, well, why don't we look at a flight and him and I will pay together. And if we find a flight that is not as expensive,
Oh,
then let's bring Vlad over to Chicago and
it
see
was
if he'd like
cold.
to come down there. It was.
Yeah,
It was
Vlad
cool.
told me he didn't
I
bring
know
heavy clothes with him.
the story. I know we didn't tell him that it was technically fall into winter because he came in November, around the end of November.
Yeah,
Um, and yes, and then it started snowing because normally we're like, oh, it doesn't snow until December, right? Until it's winter time. But no, it was cold and it was snowing, and poor Vlad didn't have any kind of winter gear.
yeah,
There was a story. I know what
and
he's referring to. I
and
asked him to go to
yeah,
a restaurant that sells burgers called a Steak and Shake, and they're famous for their milkshakes and their burgers. And we were staying at Sean Burnell's house for the exterior location where we fight on the bridge. It's an area near Sean Burnell's house, and late at night, him and I, were getting hungry, and we're like, "Oh, the restaurant is not even a few meters away, right? Like barely. It's nothing." But of course, it was more than
yeah,
a very long walk. But sorry, going back to with Vlad and Sean. So essentially, Sean reached out to Vlad and said, "Hey, we found a ticket for 300 US dollars. We're happy to split the ticket if you'd like to come and work with us." And initially, Vlad had asked, "Okay, well, what's your guys' idea?" Essentially, he was being very humble and being like, "You guys let me know what you want, and I'll do what you want." But actually, we were the reverse. We said, "Well,
yeah,
we want you to direct us. So whatever ideas you want to do, whatever
yeah,
something you want to try,
yeah,
we're a
yeah,
fully open book,
yeah.
right? We're asking you to
Just
come
executed what he said.
exactly because we wanted him. Well, number one, at the time we're talking with Vlad, he had collaborated with some other performers and wasn't treated very respectfully,
Ah,
sadly.
okay, yeah,
So
yeah,
there was a bit of not just creative clashing, but just literal, respectful clashing was happening between him and some of the performers at the time in Los Angeles. And understandably, we didn't want to give that impression, to him. So we let him know, whatever he'd like to do, we want to experience it. We felt that was the best way for us to experience his process and his style. And he was very open to it. So we only spent 3 days shooting the entire project. He
okay,
came on a Thursday. On the flight over, he came up with the draft of the concept of the short. And then on that Thursday night, we went to a facility we were training at. We very loosely blocked out ideas for the apartment fight. And then the first day was the apartment fight. We shot that in full from top to bottom, where Sean goes through the gate all the way to when Sean exits after killing everybody. The second day, we started the first part of the finale. Um, and on the second day, halfway through the finale, where it was Sean and I, Vlad was trying a very, at the time, experimental for him style, right? Mixing Korean cinema with like a Bourne style of fighting, something very new that we weren't even sure exactly what it was, right? But we realized shooting the first half of the day did not look as good as eventually we got to a very good point, but we realized, oh, the beginning is now going to feel very weak. So we need to start it strong. So we had to reshoot everything over.
ah, okay.
So we had less time. So even though we had
Yeah,
a full 8 hour day, we actually shot the first half of the finale, which I want to say was up to where Sean uh, just when I have to. I think I'm starting to beat Sean, but Sean starts to beat me up. Somewhere around there, we finished on the first day. So on the second day, we had to do all of that: me getting beat up, me getting back up, me finishing Sean off. But also, we had to shoot before that the bathroom fight between Vlad and I.
ah, okay, yeah, yeah.
And and we were in a university at the time that someone knew Sean. We graciously asked to just use one of the campus bathrooms, and we had fake blood, and we were fake blood everywhere, and
It was
it
a
was
mess.
very sticky. Yeah, it was a big mess. And we got Sean in a bit of trouble, so we had to apologize to the person. And then on top of that, Vlad told me at the time that he had chose the wrong pants. to fight
Yeah,
it.
it was tight. You said
Yes,
that
it was
before.
very tight because I remember we were just working through. We always made the choreography on the spot, just like Hong Kong. We never really developed anything too much, so we always did the choreo on the spot. And I remember running some idea with him, and then he took me aside and he's like, "I, I think I'm gonna rip my pants.
Yeah.
I can't really move, right?" And I was like, "Oh, what are we gonna do?" But it was Vlad's creative choice to say, you know what, to give you a proper introduction, let's shoot me being very imposing, and then it should feel like David and Goliath, right? You should just anything I do, you're 3 steps, 4 steps ahead of me. I should just get completely beat down, and that way it sets up your character, right? So because we set up Sean's character a similar way, now we set up your character this way. So we did that, and then we went to finish the finale the same day, just as the sun is setting. So that's why you kind of see it gets darker towards the end of the fight because that's actually what was happening. Um, and all the training stuff in between we did in Sean Burnell's apartment at the time,
Okay.
in a separate room. And then yeah, it only took 3 days, and it was very exciting, and it was an awesome time to do it, Vlad. But it took about 6 or 7 months to edit the whole short because
Okay.
I was in Chicago and he's in
Yeah, yeah,
LA.
it was difficult to do the editing.
Yes,
Yeah, you
because
have
at the
to
time
send him all
too,
the project, and then
yes,
he
I had
could
to
make
send
a
him
feedback, and yeah,
exactly the whole files. It's not like today where you can like how
yeah,
we are right now, right?
yeah,
Using
yeah,
a FaceTime or
yeah,
Zoom
yeah,
or even speaking on the phone. I can't show him the timeline to say,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
this
yeah,
point you can
yeah,
cut here. He is just listening to it, or again, like you said, I had to take the whole file, send it to him through Vimeo. He has to watch the whole thing, give me
yeah,
notes. I have to go back and do the
yeah.
notes, and
That's long process.
But again, it was because we did not also have the luxury of I couldn't just spend another $300 to fly
Yeah,
him or fly myself to LA.
yeah,
So to people maybe now that might not seem like a lot of money, but at that time, it is like it was a lot of money for essentially young adults to try to save, right? Like we just did not have that much proper savings to just do that on a whim. So we just made the best of it, and it ended up working out really well because at the end, it it made me finally go, you know what? I've never been to LA, right? I've never been
okay,
to Los Angeles.
yeah,
At the time, Thousand Pounds was starting to come up with Chris Cowan and everybody, and there was a couple other people I wanted to work with that were newer in Los Angeles. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go to Los Angeles. I'm going to finish the short with Vlad, and I'm going to shoot a bunch of different shorts, in 5 days. And that's what I did. We finished editing the short in about like 30 minutes in person.
yeah,
Finalized it. We finally put it out. That's why it took almost a year later to be released because we shot the short in 2010 and then released it
yeah,
in 2011. And then from there, I spent the next 4 or 5 days shooting a bunch of different short films with everything. That's where I did the From Man to Man series
yeah, yeah,
with Von
yeah.
Carter. That's where
Yeah,
I
I've seen
did
some of them. Yeah,
yeah. There's I did a tribute to the Sword of the Stranger fight with Brendan Huer and Seth Austin at the time. I did another kind of Champloo samurai-esque one with Von Zell and Brendan and Mickey
yeah,
Facinello.
yeah,
I also did a Kung Fu kind of Shaw Brothers one, you know, with Brendan versus Andy Lay at the
yeah,
time.
okay.
Brendan was the one who introduced me to Andy Lay at that time. And yeah, we
Yes,
did
a
a
bunch
bunch.
of
We did
various
a bunch of
stuff.
different test fights, and it was awesome. It was a great time
Yeah,
to go.
yeah, that was a nice period of time
It was.
before you all get into the professional world. You're now
Yes.
super busy to make short films, short action movies. Hopefully to see more of you again.
Hopefully so.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would really like to.
In Lucky Stars was a unique experience for you all. It was like the expandables of the indie action cinema
Yeah.
with a super talented cast like Denise, Vlad, Sam Hargrave, Ken
Mhm.
Kitigua, and yourself, Sean Bernal as well. The movie was written and directed by Denise Rule, of course. You played a character named Rich. How long
Yes.
was the pre-production stage, and how How you guys managed to make this film? I know this film took like 5 years before it's finished.
It did. It did. So at the time, um, Vlad and Dennis had reached out to myself and Sean and asked if we wanted to be a part of this film, which was Unlucky Stars. Essentially, uh, they kind of wanted to emulate, right, the old Hong Kong style of Jackie and Samo and Yun Biao, where all of the other actors at the times played various roles, different cameos, and because it was at a time where we had a newer talent of transition, right? We had Marshall Club starting to slowly make their own content.
Yeah,
Obviously, there's Andy Long and a lot of these other folks that were making different content and things. The stunt people were expanding into their own thing. Sam Hargrave had just been the double for Captain America.
yeah, he started
He was
working to
moving up.
Marvel at that
Yeah,
time.
he was moving up professionally. But we really wanted to do a big throwback to our roots as well as the community's roots, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Uh, and so Dennis and Vlad really were the people that made sure kind of everyone came in together to work, and Vlad having the connections that he did, working with Real Kick, working with Zero Gravity, and obviously through Ken Kittigwa as well. We were able to get so many newer people. And then I had a bit of my own connections, which helped for some smaller things. And
yeah,
it was great. Dennis had asked me to play a role, and originally the role was meant to be non-speaking, very much like Benny Urquidez,
yeah,
right? Just kind of a look and non-speaking, but through script changes, through schedule changes, and all that, eventually Dennis had asked, are you comfortable acting? And I said, I mean, no, but
yeah,
but I'll do my best. I'm not an actor like Dennis is, but of course, just being an indie filmmaker, I'm like, I'll try it. I'll do my best. I can't guarantee it'll be good, but I'll do my best. And it was a lot of fun. Um, oh geez, I don't remember exactly when I got onto the project. Now that I'm trying to think about it,
yeah. It's
I,
a
wa-
long
I
time ago.
want to say, yeah, I want to say it was sometime in 2011,
Ah, okay.
and then we really started. I think we did the finale in 2012.
Ah, okay.
Um, yes, like in or no, we did the finale in 2011. That's right, around Halloween time.
Ah,
I
okay.
remember because that was a window of time where Sam Hargrave had just finished working on his last project,
Yeah,
and he was going to
yes,
do
yes,
the Hunger Games,
yes. He
and
was in
actually
town,
just
and yeah,
sent it
we
there.
saw the opportunity that he was there and make
Yeah,
yeah the shooting.
yeah. So he was gracious with this time as well, because anytime he was free, he would let Dennis and Vlad know, here's my window. I'm happy to shoot or get whatever scenes done, in this window. And that's kind of how they did the movie. They did it very piecemeal, little by little, and just getting what things we could get. But I was very lucky to come and help out on pretty much almost all the fights, all the major fights, like the church fight, the finale, obviously, the house fight with myself and Troy Carbonell and Roy Chen, Ed Kahana. Uh, yeah, and just again working with friends, working with people that understood the process. I remember when we did the finale fight with Dennis and I, the day before, Sean and myself, we went to what was known as White Lotus. This was pre Jam
Ah,
Gym.
okay, Jam,
This was,
yes, yeah. By
this
the
was
way, they changed their location lately.
they did,
Yeah,
and so at the time it was White Lotus, run by Travis's Wong's father
yeah,
and mother, and so Ken, myself, Sean, and I don't think Roy and Vlad, we went and just again we did like very loose references, and Vlad was using his oh geez his iPod Mini or something that had the video at the time, not even
yeah.
his
Ah,
actual
okay.
cell phone, and just to show the idea of like, okay, here's maybe the structure of the scene. We'll obviously finalize the choreography on the day, but here's some overall broad strokes. And then we went the next morning to the location. I want to say at like 5 or 6 in the morning, and by the time it was 7 or 8, maybe 8, We started shooting from 8 till about, geez, I don't know, 1 p.m. Something like 6 hours. Dennis and I
Ah,
shot our
okay.
whole fight, and Dennis and I have worked together, but we've never actually like fought each other in a fight scene sense. Um, but again, it was just very easy to come up with the choreography with Vlad. Vlad led us through what
Yeah,
division that he
everyone knows
wanted.
their craft. Yeah,
Yeah, and it was very easy to come up with ideas on the day. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun to just go and do that. There wasn't much thinking. We didn't really warm up. We
yeah,
just went for it.
yeah.
Within the first few minutes of doing the fight, the first exchange between Dennis and I, again, none of that fight is sped up. That's the speed we were going,
Ah, okay.
and it was very comfortable to do that with Dennis. We never felt like we were going too hard, or you know what I mean. Like the dancing was very easy to do. And it was a lot of fun to do. And that same day, we did Sean Bernal's fight with Ken, and then Sean Bernal against Dennis and Ken, and then we did Ken versus Roy Chen. Started that fight and then finished it at a different time, but that was all one day that
Ah,
we did
okay.
all of those
Yeah,
fights in
yeah,
different parts of
yeah,
that location.
yeah. You need to make things in a very short of time because the
Yeah,
schedule
it
was,
was.
especially some aggravating. Yeah,
Yes, because
yeah,
he only was there for the acting. At the time, they had done, I believe, him and Vlad a week or two, something like that, almost a month before.
ah, okay,
But then Sam had some window to finish the acting, which led into the whole finale.
ah, okay.
So the finale, I want to say, was the first real edited piece of fighting that the movie had, and I want to say that's what led to Dennis and Vlad to start the Kickstarter on it. To get I think it was Indiegogo. I'm sorry, to get fundraising to
Ah, okay,
acquire more
yeah,
money,
yeah, yeah.
and it was through the fundraising, thankfully, that we were able to do the
Finish,
church
yeah,
fight
yeah.
in the
Oh,
movie.
yeah, 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 yeah. It was
So it
very
was cool.
interesting. Yeah, very cool project. I really
Yeah,
enjoyed it. I still have the movie on my computer actually.
awesome.
Yeah, it's a
Thank you.
reference for a lot of people, especially the followers of the indie action cinema.
Yeah, it was very cool to work with a lot of my heroes at the time because I hadn't met Tony Chu at that time.
Ah, okay.
Like Adam Phelps. It's been a long time since, actually, that was the first time I met Andy Leong. Um, and just working with a lot of those guys. Of course, Hargrave. We've only talked in passing, so to actually meet him and to work with him, even if it was just in an acting sense, was very fun.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, it was really great. And again, just thanks to Vlad and Dennis and Ken for making that happen for everybody.
yeah, that's really interesting. Your camera work is very impressive. Looking at your
Thank you.
short fight practices you make, you're someone who's very dynamic with the camera.
Mm.
Also, the lenses you use that gives fight full show to the audience and let them see everything going on in the same time. What could you tell about your camera work?
A lot of my camera work for action, of course, started off being about Jackie Chan,
Ah,
right?
yeah,
And obviously, Jackie would do everything on a tripod or a dolly, right?
yeah,
Very static, easy to follow shots. Um, but the hard part about doing that is it's a lot on the performer, right? To move in the frame, to know where the camera is exactly for a hit or for a motion. So then eventually, I got into Korean cinema in the late '90s, but definitely in the early 2000s, and
yeah,
watching a lot of Jung Do Hung's work,
yeah,
where a lot of the films he coordinated had this more visceral motion handheld movement, which I found very different but exciting. Because even sometimes you can't always see everything. To me, I felt like Korean cinema, and still to this day, I feel like they do the concept of Bourne style, the Bourne Identity camera work the best, because it feels kinetic, but it's easy to follow, and also you're seeing the actor do a lot of it. So you really resonate, kind of like Jackie, right? You see
yeah,
the
yeah,
actual
yeah.
performer do
This,
it,
yeah,
so you really connect with what's going
yeah.
on.
No
Whether
shaky
they're in
cameras, of
danger,
course.
exactly, or being a hero. So that inspired a lot of my early camera work, and then indie side, watching, of course, Vlad's work, Eric's work, Real Kick. Stephen Reedy as well. Stephen Reedy moved the camera like crazy and undercut and contour. So that really kind of, allowed me to try and move the camera like crazy early in my career. But nowadays and later on, I started looking at other directors, not in relation to action, that I really
Okay.
enjoyed.
Yeah.
Martin Scorsese and David
Yes.
Fincher,
Yeah.
um, James Cameron, a couple of different other directors
Okay.
that had done
Yes.
action their own way. And so for me, I wanted to kind of blend the idea of what Jackie pioneered, where it's static framing, very similar to like a silent film or a musical. And musicals actually really helped me to about the performer, but you can see what's happening everywhere, right, in the background or a location, whether it's props or things like that. And so that's what allowed me later in my career to just kind of let the camera be and really let the performers do the work. Um, and I think, to me at least, I feel that because the camera's not lying, whatever the performers do, it's them doing it, right? There's no trickery. I don't speed up anything that I do.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
don't frame anything that I do unless I absolutely have to. But I really try not to. I really
Yeah.
try to just let the performer give themselves justice, right? To show
Yeah.
what they're fully. And I feel that's what makes people resonate a lot with watching the action that I do.
Let's discuss some of your YouTube work.
Sure.
One of my favorite videos you've created was the homage fight for Wheels on Meals, in which you recreated the final fight scene of Jackie Chan versus Benny Orchides. Of course,
Hmm.
Mickey Facinello and Brendan Hoare
Yes.
made one hell of a show, of a
Yeah.
performance. What could you tell about this project?
That's one that ironically, so I met Brendan in 2009 in Chicago through Sean
Okay.
Burnell.
Okay.
And it wasn't until 2010, the following year, that we actually connected. I went to Brendan's karate school because, again, the area that they are in is not technically Chicago. It's in the area, so they're kind of in a suburb outside of the city.
Okay.
And the school that Brendan had come from, one of the schools that he'd come from, that Mickey had came from, and now other
Okay.
prominent performers
Yeah.
like Micah Carnes, St. Hip Pass, Kyle Potter, Tony Vittorio, all of these gentlemen, Andrew Franklin a bit as well. These gentlemen have trained or learned under Sensei Sharkey. And so training with Brendan, and I got invited to train with him and Andy Long. We became very fast friends. It was very easy and fun and awesome to work with Brendan. And so from there, Brendan moved to Los Angeles. It was through Brendan that I met Mickey. Eventually, Mickey moved to Los Angeles, and they started working with Thousand Pounds and doing their awesome
Yeah.
shorts. And
Yeah.
so when I finally moved to Los Angeles in 2013, and we were getting more established little by little in the industry, there would be times where we were not always working, which is what
Yes.
allowed me
Yes.
to now start working with other people like Brian Sloyer, Jerry Quill, Jay Kwan,
Yeah.
Jim Chu, and a lot of these other amazingly talented performers. And So going on the Wheels on Meals thing, Brendan and Mickey had always had an idea to attempt to recreate that fight because there was a thing happening between 8711 where Chad Stahelski and Dave Leach, in order to help train newer stunt performers, and this was something that they learned from Yun Wu Ping, was to take a fight scene that they enjoyed from Hong Kong cinema, right, or really any cinema, but they also loved Hong Kong cinema, and try to recreate it to the best of the performer's ability, right? How creative can you get if you don't have the location or the costumes? What will you make to give that, right? What is the essence of the fight? And the idea of this, what they called homework, is to help you, right? To see,
Yeah.
okay, this is what it takes to actually make a full fight scene. The performances, the camera, the editing, the moments in the fight scene, telling the story, not verbally, right, but with your bodies. And so this is what a lot of some people that were starting to do were emulating a lot from 8711. But I normally didn't like doing those things. and nothing against them. I actually had a discussion with Chad about that because he had told me in person before. He's like, you guys go and do it because you love to do it, right? You have the love and passion for action cinema and Hong Kong cinema. So he's like, for example, you guys don't need to do that, right? Because you go and make your own work, and that already shows the quality and the passion, the expression of what you're doing. But when Brendan and Mickey had approached me to try to do it, my big thought was kind of thinking on that was, okay, if we're going to do it, I don't want to do it so literally that it feels like we're trying too hard to create something, because of course we will never have the magic that Jackie and
Yeah.
Benny had. But it was a good challenge, and it really made me respect, obviously, the direction, the editing that Sammo Hung had created for that fight, the performances that Jackie and Benny had did. It was Mickey's idea to be Benny,
Yeah,
so Brendan could be
she's
Jackie.
very good.
It was
Mickey,
amazing,
she's
and
very
Brendan as
very
well.
fast. She knows the rhythm, how to
It
move.
was great, and just to be clear on the whole fight, so we never rehearsed anything.
Okay.
We shot that fight for 4.5 days, and every day what we would do is look at a chunk of the fight and just go in order of the fight, and that's the rehearsal that we did.
Yeah.
We never went to a gym and tried to learn the
Okay.
movements. None of that. Everything was done exactly on the spot, because I said, if we're gonna play a true tribute, we should do it like the Hong Kong masters that have done before
Yeah,
us, right?
yeah,
We should
yeah.
just go and see what we can do. And it was very difficult to try to obviously maintain the rhythm in certain things, but whenever we'd have certain difficulties, I would just try to remind Brendan and Mickey to just do it the way that is easiest for them, right? Like, instead of trying too hard to copy Jackie or Benny's movements, what is the easiest? What is most smooth for you? Because that's going to resonate more with the audience, right? As opposed to trying to literally hit the same poses all the time. Um, and we had a lot of fun doing that. It was very hot as well. Every day,
Yeah.
I want to say it was like over 100 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
very, very hot when we shot that. And I think besides Brendan doing the bit where he gets punched in the face and drops to his knees, he did all his falls with no pads on
Okay.
concrete.
Yeah.
All
Yeah, the
contact
way
kits are
he was shooting, he didn't have any pads.
yeah, because we wanted to again be true to what Jackie had done, right? Where
Okay,
he didn't
that's
really
yeah,
have
a way
pads.
to pay tribute as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as you saw, we did very little creative things because what we were in was essentially an abandoned room, right? An
Yeah, yeah,
abandoned space.
yeah.
And we found a table that we brought, or I believe Brendan and Mickey might have brought the table. We found some water bottles we drank. We used those as the candles. We had some spare boxes to use as
Yeah.
ideas, but they brought a lawn chair to do all the chair bits. Um, but that was it. It was very fun. It really reminded me of when we all first started doing fight scenes like that, just kind of trying it and seeing what works. And in the end, again, thanks to Brendan and Mickey for pushing me to do that, pushing themselves. The work shows that, again, that's all them. There's not really any trickery done in that. And I think that's why the tribute resonates so much with a lot of people. I feel is
Yeah.
because they're putting all their passion into it, and it shows.
Yeah, it have been a great tribute, and it had like millions of views, I think. You know,
Yes, it did eventually get taken down. I think because Fortune
rights.
Star or something
Okay.
put a claim on it, and I tried to re-upload it a couple of times, and it just kept getting taken down. Then eventually, I just tried it after a few years, and I guess now they left it alone.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that sometimes happen with all the
Yeah,
copyrights issues.
yeah.
There is a particular short that got my attention as well, which is Monster. Brian Sloyer was the lead beside
Hmm.
a super talented cast like Jimmy, Jerry, Quell, Von
Yeah.
Zell Carter. There is a lot of brutality and satisfying violence in this one. How did you come up with this impressive short? It gave me vibes of
um,
the Raid movies.
uh, thanks. I actually watched a lot of Korean cinema at that time, and
Yeah.
there was a film that I saw called the Yellow Sea. And
Okay.
before that, the director did a film called The Chaser.
Yes, I
And
have
I
seen
and
the
I
chaser.
you
Yeah.
know I've really enjoyed the I guess what I call grimy, just very dark undertones. And so what I wanted to do was to do a short idea of uh, a big thing that they do in Korean cinema, which I really enjoy, is this kind of one man against all odds, right? This
Yeah,
person that is
like
under
yeah,
tremendous pressure or
just
violence,
like
and they have to
yeah,
survive, right? Um, so I wanted to do a very similar concept where at the time with Brian, because Brian was working with me a lot, and he obviously has a great Filipino background with his martial arts. It was very martial arts heavy with all the stuff we were doing, before that. So what I wanted to experiment with him and a couple of other performers was to go away from martial arts too much and just try to do things that are more not necessarily realistic, but I guess more personable. You understand when someone gets hit by an object, right? You understand when someone is getting hit in the face, or
yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean. Like everyone understands what that means in some sense, you know. Uh, so with that idea, I originally it was a different version of an idea because in the beginning, I believe the concept I wanted was the reveal was going to be that they've essentially kidnapped, Brian's child, right? And so
Yeah.
he's been kidnapped in this way, so he's fighting his way out to get to his child. But when we went to do the first day, the weather was becoming bad at that time. It was going to be a big thunderstorm or something.
Okay.
So instead, I said, you know what? I'm going to simplify it. We're just going to shoot in this kind of desert area. It's actually the same area where we did the Wheels on Meals fight, just outside of it.
Okay.
So where
Yes.
Brian and Jeremy fight inside is not the big area, but the smaller kind of
Yes.
abandoned
Yes.
house
Yeah.
that was.
Yeah.
You know. And so yeah, we just started shooting. I kind of gave everybody character ideas. Like Alvin Singh was kind of the typical Asian cinema gangster that has a stylistic look, kind of seems a bit eccentric. Jimmy was this enforcer type. I really wanted Vanza to emulate what I felt, Korean cinema does very well, and even actually old John Woo, where you
Yeah.
have the one enforcer that has a very distinct, quiet look, and in the end, it, does something very great to the hero, or all of a sudden explodes onto the screen and just shows everything off, right, with what he can do. Um, and yeah, I just really played to everyone's looks and strengths as much as I could, and that was, I mean, that took also 5 days to do. It was 2 days for the big group fight,
Okay.
and then it was another 3 days for Brian to get to Jerry, and then Jerry, Brian Sawyer's one-on-one. Because I wanted to reveal Jerry last, right? He is the most technically sound compared to
Yeah.
the group.
Jerry had a Hong Kong villain look.
Yeah,
He was
very
so yeah.
like Yuen,
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
So it was cool, and again, thanks to all of those performers because it was, of course, very hot,
Yeah. Yeah. Indeed.
and
Yes. That's the area
again,
of Los Angeles. It's always hot. I think
yeah.
in a particular time of the season of the year.
And Los Angeles has an interesting thing. I remember Vlad telling me it's either sunny or overcast, right? Where
Okay.
it's too cloudy. And that's
Okay.
why sometimes Vlad has reshot parts of old shorts that he did, or it takes a while for him to finish because, like you said, the quality of the weather is not consistent. And because, we're independent filmmakers, we don't have access to true lights or things to help block the
Yeah. Yeah.
sun or
That's
anything
it.
like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So we just make do with what we had, and that's really what it was. When we did the bats, I got kids bats, and we spray painted the bats, and made it seem more realistic. You know, um, just the weapons, the bladed weapons are metal, but they're not obviously real. They're just blunted, and they're supposed to be like demonstration weapons. We just use those, and it was really much more about just showing, yeah, the struggle of this person in this terrible situation, just trying to get out. But it was a lot of fun to do, and again, a very good memory of mine to work with all those performers. Very thankful for them.
Yeah. What was your first professional job?
So My first actual union job in America, we have a union called SAG-AFTRA, and at the
Yeah.
time they were separated. There were two different unions, but SAG being the one that mostly does film, and AFTRA was the one that mostly does TV.
Okay.
So there was a show that we have called Extreme Makeover, which is like they come a contractor, a professional comes to the house to help a family in need and kind of redo the house for themselves, reconstruct it in a way. And it's supposed to be so it helps the family with what they need or helps them with like space or things like that. And so, ironically, the show had a partnership with a rapper named Exhibit, and the producers of the show wanted to do this mini kind of fight scene because the I believe the son of the family was a martial artist and he loved all martial arts and his favorite character was ninjas of any kind.
Okay.
So the producers had thought, oh, it'd be very funny if these ninjas came and tried to stop, the rapper from helping construction. You just cause problems, right? A little funny comedy bit. And they had seen some of the stuff we'd done, and they asked if we were available because they were shooting in Wisconsin, which is a state nearby us. And we sent them a little tiny previs in our gym of the idea of what we would do, and they loved it. And so they asked myself, Sean Bernal, and Alex Hashioka to come out, and Sean and Alex at the time were already SAG members. They were already part of the professional union, but I wasn't. So they allowed me to come, and they call it Taft Hartley, which means now you're allowed to join the union and pay the fees needed, to work. So that one day of work got me into the union professionally. And it was very funny because we tried to do a version of this fight scene, this comedic fight scene. And then on set, the producers said, we're a family show and it does feel a little too violent, even though there's no blood or anything.
Yeah.
Our reactions were a little too, in the Hong Kong sense, a little too real. So we decided, why don't we help Exhibit? Why don't we help the rapper create the construction and work with the workers? So we just did little comedy clips, and it was a lot of fun to do. It wasn't very long. I want to say we worked maybe 4 hours, 5 hours at most. And yeah, that's what got me into the union from
Yeah.
there.
Was it intimidating for you to get into the professional world?
It was
Yeah.
because, you know, when I first started wanting to do movies, I definitely was like, I want to be a stuntman, right? But
Okay.
my sense of a stuntman was more of a Hong Kong stuntman, and watching again the works of like Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung and Yu Wu Ping, and all these amazing action directors, seeing what Hong Kong stuntmen had to do, my initial thought was, okay, I have to react, I have to fall, right, do these kind of bigger stunts, and then eventually maybe there's a school or something where I can learn to do everything else. Um, but over time, as I started getting into the industry, and here locally in Chicago, we have more of what we call the classic stuntmen. These are more the people that do all the driving of cars. They've rode horses, they've jumped off of buildings, done very, very dangerous, stunts with fire and things like that. Amazing
Okay.
professionals, but they are not specialized in fight scenes, right? Their fight
Okay.
scenes are
Yeah.
very simple and realistic. And it doesn't mean that's a bad thing. It's just a different, side of the
Yes. Yeah.
profession.
Stunt. Yeah. Yeah.
So learning how to do more of the stunt work was, how do you say, a shock a bit, because obviously there's, chance of injury, chance of death, and things
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that. But
Indeed. Yeah. A
I
lot
was
of
lucky to
dangers.
have, very good mentors that taught me the steps of what to take.
Yeah. Mm.
But over time, I stuck to what I knew how to do, and it's thanks to that that got me seen by Chad Stahelski, by
Yeah.
JJ Perry. Eventually, JJ introduced me to many other stunt coordinators like Garrett Warren and Marnell
Yeah.
Stovall, Clayton Barber, Chuck Jeffries, and then obviously because of the indie background, getting to work with other stuntmen that started with an indie background like Aaron Toney and Daniel Stevens and Lateef Crowder and Sam Locke.
Yeah.
Um, all of these guys that started in a very similar fashion, and I kind of understood what that process and step was, to get past everything. So for me at least, it helped me a lot, and I just basically stayed true to my roots, and that's what gave me the confidence, to keep going.
Yeah, it seems you're getting a lot of opportunities now due your self-confidence and the mastering the craft. Yeah,
Yeah, little by little, and I'm
yeah,
still learning as much as I can.
yeah. And I wish you all the best in the upcoming years, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hong Kong cinema is a great influence for many and was a source of inspiration to many indie action movie makers around the world. What Hong Kong cinema means to you?
Well, I mean, to me, you know, it changed my life really,
Yeah,
because it did. It was a piece of movie making. I've always loved watching movies. I've watched movies since I was a young boy, and that's thanks to my family. My family introduced me to many different types of cinema internationally, and of course, locally in the states. But it was thanks to my grandfather and a couple of my uncles that introduced me to Hong Kong cinema because they were fans of martial arts. Bruce Lee being a big
yeah,
factor of that. I grew up watching a lot of Bruce Lee,
yeah,
and very much inspired by him. And then from Bruce Lee, it led me to Jackie Chan,
yeah,
and then from Jackie Chan led me to Sammo Hung, and then everything. And from watching Hong Kong cinema, because there's obviously the action cinema, right? But there's the cinema, right? Seeing people like Ringo Lam or Johnny Toe or Stephen Chow or Jeff Lau or geez, there's so many different amazing directors. Choi Hark, obviously, John Woo.
yeah,
Just seeing the breadth of that cinema and the variety, and it was just something about that kind of cinema that really resonated with the passion, right? The indie filmmaking aspect. The things that they were doing were quite different than American or European films at the time because they were just going for it. They were just trying to do what worked, what didn't, and then I saw that again watching a lot of Korean cinema.
yeah,
They did a lot of similar passionate stories in their way, and
right.
so for me, it really it really resonates with me as a core, background,
Ah, okay.
especially in terms of cinema overall. I think a lot of my style in general, in terms of action, it definitely comes from Hong Kong cinema as a whole.
Yeah,
Not just the acting side of it, and yeah, everything from the humor to the tones that I do really originated from that.
yeah.
So
Which era influenced you more? Is it the 70s with Bruce Lee and those traditional kung fu classics, Animal Farms, Drunken Style, or the 80s era with those solid, powerful fight choreography and merging full contact, of course, and those crazy stunts?
I think definitely the 80s and
Yeah,
90s
that's what
is
I
the ones
thought.
that resonate,
Yeah,
with me the most. I did appreciate the 70s, and I have a lot of, my mentors and other colleagues that really enjoyed the Kung Fu cinema aspect of La Garlong. And even, further than that in the 60s when they kind of were doing those swordplay films. Um, there's some that I do like and enjoy as favorites, but yeah, I grew up very much like I said, if Bruce Lee was the catalyst of that change to change into a more realistic kind of fighting style that they eventually did with Jackie and Sammo and Ewan and Corey Ewan and Yun Wu Ping, that's where it fully resonated with me from there. And just again seeing a lot of the gangster films of those times too, in the 80s and 90s in Hong Kong, just felt very real, you know. Um, so that's what I grew up. That's what I loved watching.
yeah, it was really fun. Yeah, you can see power and something really interesting in the 80s Hong Kong cinema that we don't see anymore in
Yes.
the Hong Kong cinema. It's totally changed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think I have a lot of talks like that with other colleagues of mine, other friends of mine that have grown up watching it. I think what's different, but I am starting to see it a little bit in American cinema to a small degree, is the comeback of the performer being the forefront of that. Because I think over time, and we've seen it in Hong Kong too, especially. But like you said, in the 80s and 90s, there's so much passion and growth,
yeah,
and there's
yeah,
so many creative risks and choices being made. But then in the 2000s in Hong Kong, they started lessening that, right? It
Yeah,
started
yeah,
being more
yeah.
stylistic
Americanized the
and
industry.
Americanized, yes, and all these things. So, and it was if they did stunts, it was very much like here's a stunt, right? It wasn't built into the story, or wasn't really
Yeah,
built into the scene, and it was very evident of the doubles. Whereas before, it was harder to see the difference,
yeah,
right? So I feel now American and European cinema are starting to bring a bit of that back, but I think that's thanks to the stunt coordinators and the directors,
yeah,
because those are the same stunt coordinators and directors that worked with people like Yuen Wu Ping, like Sammo Hung, like Jackie Chan,
yeah,
and they got to be influenced by a lot of Hong Kong cinema in their way. So, with Chad and Dave kind of leading that way, and Sam Hargrave, obviously, like you get more of a sense of people that are starting to see the actors, do more of everything.
yeah,
It's more fantastical, right? They try harder to see when it's the actor as opposed to the double, right? I feel like I tell people this a lot. I feel like Tom Cruise is the American Jackie Chan, right? It's like someone who is trying to constantly go higher and higher
yeah,
and show that it's him, right? Show that it is him doing everything as much as possible. And I respect that. I respect when the actors are game to do it, regardless if they're martial artists or not. Because again, like with Hong Kong cinema, not all of the actors were martial artists doing fight scenes, or there was not necessarily their background. But you had people like, let's say, Andy Lau, for example, who's technically a pop star and an actor,
yeah, yeah,
doing
yeah.
very serious fight
Angelo,
scenes,
yes,
and things
yes,
like that. So that's what I mean. If you can have someone like Chris Hemsworth or Chris Evans or any of these other guys in the States doing bigger fight scenes, Brad Pitt now,
yeah, yeah,
Ryan Reynolds, it's like, well,
yeah,
I think it's still possible to keep some of that old art alive.
yeah. Really interesting era of Hong Kong, of course.
Yeah.
Mention work in. What was the most rushed job you have ever done that you had to work under pressure and that make the work in which you had to make your job in the shortest time possible?
All of them.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah.
um,
I
I mean,
understood. Yeah, of course.
there's it's a little bit of being silly, obviously, but there's a bit of truth to that because if I'm assuming, even if you're talking about indie work, for example, right? Like what indie work taught me is to be as efficient as I can be in the most limited way possible, right? I don't have access to pay people. I don't have access to always buy costumes. I don't have access to an actual location I own, right? That I own for a set time.
Yeah,
Don't have access to lights. I don't have access to all this gear. So, what is the most simplest yet creative and efficient way I can tell the stories that I want to tell, right? Using the performers that I have. Sometimes, I mean, all performers do, but sometimes some performers have varying limits. Um, the weather is an issue, you name it, everything and
yeah,
anything
yeah. Indeed.
be an issue. So that's why whenever I shot a lot of my stuff, I purposely shot with limits in mind. I didn't, even as I got better at telling certain stories, I didn't want to all of a sudden start bringing, techno cranes and dollies and steady cams and all these things into order because, let's say professionally, if I present an idea like a previs, right, to the director or to the stunt coordinator, and the idea is great, it's well made and executed, it may not be what's right for the project, or they may not have their own time and resource to do exactly like how I did it, right? Like they cannot always translate what I do. So I
Yeah,
have to help meet them in the middle. And again, there's only so much time, there's only so much money, there's only so much limits with the actors. So doing a lot of the indie work really prepared me for the professional side of it, because it's essentially the same. As ironic as that sounds, some movies can give you the time for sure. You can spend months on one scene and really get it right, which is awesome. But especially TV is very much like independent cinema because everything is so fast, and now
yeah,
there's so much content out there. So you only have so much time and so much money, and again, so many resources. So yeah, having the indie background and all of that has allowed me to do these rush jobs, thankfully.
yeah, yeah.
And
Indeed.
of
Yeah,
course having mentors to help me with that.
Yeah, yeah. You become already very experienced before joining the professional world. Yeah,
Mhm.
so that made it easy for you to handle it.
Well, not easy, but definitely I can adapt. Yes,
Yeah,
it made it
yeah,
easier to adapt. Yeah.
yeah. Uh, what challenges and concerns you have now related to the business?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I guess kind of like what we talked about before with the putting the passion of things out there. Having the performers to do it. Um, I guess is just always making sure that the audience resonates with the character and the motivations of the character.
Yeah,
For me now, it's not necessarily the choreography per se. Not to say it's not important or not shouldn't be thought about, but kind of like music or dance, not every part of the move has to be so intricately placed unless it's for a reason, right? Unless you're like a Jackie, right, showing a very specific piece of choreography for a reason, for a moment,
yeah,
right? Um, but beyond that, yeah, I would say the only, for me at least, I can't speak for others, but the only main challenge is just ensuring that the audience has a constant connection to the character, right? To what's happening, why is it happening, why is this important, why should people care of it? And Vlad and I always have a really good saying with each other, which is um, make it make it good or make it fun, right?
okay,
Make it good means if you're going to take the time to perfect it, take the time as much as you can to perfect it, right? Make
yeah,
it really good. But if you don't have the time to perfect it, then make it fun, right? And engage people, let people in on what you're doing. The audience should understand what's happening, regardless if there's martial arts involved, and should be excited watching it, right? They should have fun watching it. You want to make them repeat the sequence again, with what you do. So that's where I feel like in the fight choreography sense, it doesn't always have to be so intricate, you know. As long as it's something simple that people can follow and the actor looks very good doing it, and you really believe what's happening, then to me that's a win. Then the audience is connected.
yeah, okay, yeah, indeed. I know COVID period had a great impact on the industry. How this period how this period affected your work?
Well, we obviously had to shut down and take a break for a while.
Yeah,
For me, it was a big blessing in disguise because I normally am quite away from my family,
okay,
and being able to actually be here in my home in Chicago, because normally I
okay.
was not home.
Yeah, yeah.
I was living in Los
In Los
Angeles,
Angeles,
and I
yes.
moved back to Chicago to
Well,
be closer
yeah,
closer to my family. So now I live in Chicago, but for about 7 years almost, I was living in Los Angeles. But then over time, I was constantly being away from my family overseas. So my wife was obviously left alone for a while. We had no family in Los Angeles as well. So
okay,
the decision to move was based on being closer to my family, so my wife could get support,
okay.
and also to provide more of a family base for
Indeed,
our
yes,
child.
yeah,
And then and also because Los Angeles can be quite expensive to live
indeed,
in.
yes, yes,
Um, so not saying that Chicago is that much cheaper, but it is definitely more affordable.
yeah,
So I decided to move back, and I was lucky enough to be able to purchase a house. But when COVID happened, I was still very go go go. Right, I wasn't even home.
yeah, yeah,
And so COVID was a really, really good blessing in disguise for me because I was able to be home, to be with my family,
yeah,
even though there was some separation for a little while with other members of the family.
yeah,
Once we were able to finally connect,
yeah,
that was always welcome because they're not very far from us. So it was a very good reset for me, and
yeah,
it really made me appreciate that much more, right? To be connected to family. So when I was lucky to start working again, I was able to bring my family abroad with me to Canada twice now to
okay,
work on the show Titans, and
yeah,
it's thanks to you know thanks to well thanks to COVID really for allowing that, because before my mindset was not to bring my family along just because the job can be quite demanding. There's different hours every day.
yeah,
different things to always, take care of or worry about. And I just never wanted to burden my family so much with that in person.
Yeah,
But I realized over time, like we touched on earlier, family is the most important. So having that reset really, really helped me see that better. And yeah, I'm thankful for that.
indeed. Yeah, it was a bliss that period, because also it, beside family, it was a period to make research and write scripts, for example.
Hmm.
Yeah, do anything that you can improve your work during that
Yeah,
period of time. Uh,
exactly.
you know, how do you see yourself 10 years from now, Manny?
Oh, I've always been asked this, and I'm very terrible at answering it all the time.
Yeah,
Uh, ideally, I would like to. I just transitioned more to stunt coordinating, so I've
yeah,
been stunt
yeah,
coordinating
yeah,
more. Um, and ideally, I would like to second unit direct, which is like
indeed,
action
yes,
directing in the states.
yeah,
But I feel like with the advent of what Chad and Dave and now JJ Perry and a lot of other directors coming from stunt backgrounds have thankfully, blessed us with to have the opportunities. If there's still an opportunity down the line to direct something, whether it's a TV show or perhaps a more professional short or a feature, even. I mean, I'd be game to try. But as of right now, and it's not something that I wish and demand for it to happen,
okay, yeah, yeah,
because anytime I've made my art, I've made it for myself and I've made it for to express openly, and that's how it is to me. At least for me, making art is kind of like making a sketch, right? I make a painting and I leave it as is,
yes, it is, yes,
regardless of how people feel about the painting is okay, right? It's art. People can
yeah,
like
yeah,
it or not like it.
yeah,
I'd rather people tell me why they don't like it than just kind of go, like if they have nothing to say, I'd rather someone passionately tell me this is why I don't like the work, right? Because then it means that it resonates with them. They're able to explain clearly why they don't like it. And to me, that's what art should be. So that's why I'd rather direct something when I have the time, in the sense of when I feel it's the right time. Like, you know what, I'm just going to go for it at this time. So hopefully in that 10 years, there'll be an opportunity to
yeah,
do
yeah.
that. And if not, it's okay.
Yeah, it's all
I'm
okay.
very happy.
Yeah, yeah, you did it for passion and love, of course. Let's talk about festivals. The indie festivals. I believe you have participated in many of them and probably got many nominations. How many
Uh,
nominations you've got?
I don't know.
And
I
how
don't. I
many
don't really.
prizes, if you got any? How many prizes did you get?
Um, I don't. I don't really remember. I mean, the one I most prominently remember is for Yo Soy Nombre Loco at the
Ah, okay.
Action on Film Festival, and personally, I'm a very private person. I
Ah,
don't
okay.
really like, unless I get to know you. I don't really like expressing myself that much. That's just how I am.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Um,
yeah,
and so the same again, like I was talking about with what I shoot in my art. I'd rather that be the expression, and I kind of leave it out there, and that's kind of what it is, right? And how people react to it is how people react to it. So it was Sean, actually, again, Sean Bernal, that
ah, yeah.
had for us to submit,
Yeah, to apply, yeah.
you know, like to I am a Crazy Man and Dogfight and a couple of other shorts that we've done. He's really pushed to put in the festivals, which I don't mind. Like
Yeah,
he's been a part of a lot of great projects, and thanks to him, we have helped each other a lot in our careers. So he was very much more finding those things and doing that, and it was a lot of fun doing that in that little sense. But at the Action on Film Festival, we had got nominated, Vlad and I, for best choreography, and then Sean for I think breakout action star,
ah,
and then I got
okay.
nominated for best villain or something like that. But Vlad won for choreography, best fight
Ah,
choreography,
okay. Yeah, cool.
and then Sean won for best breakout action star at that year, at that
Yeah,
time.
it's really awesome.
It was
So
cool.
actually,
Yeah.
Sean Bernard remind me of Brendan Lee, the son of Bruce Lee.
Yes,
Yeah, he
yeah.
has the
I
same
always
charisma, I think.
I agree. I always joke with him all the time. He says no, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think he doesn't want to admit it. But no,
yeah.
we would joke
It
a lot
was
of that time.
it was obvious in one of your shorts when you made an homage film for John Woo with the gun fights and all
Yes,
that. Yeah, he has
yeah,
abundantly vibes.
he does, and he was great in that. It was a lot of fun to do that short at that time because that's kind of like I said, we that was the classic LBP. You know, the members that at that time we all met and worked together, and yeah, it was always a good time
Yeah,
to do those
indeed.
ones.
Yeah. A lot of people are trying to get into business by starting indie, of course. What piece of advice you have for them?
Hmm. I mean, at this point, it's it's a very now or never, right? I think the door is so wide open to
Yeah.
try
Okay. Yeah.
everything like YouTube and Facebook, Instagram,
Yeah.
TikTok now, right? You see so many talented
Yeah.
physical performers, actors, all these things, and not taking away from people that have had more classical training, right? Whether it's martial arts or acting or anything like that. Um, but what I'm getting at is the world now is so open and vast that compared to the indie community, for example, when we started, we only really had each other. And to us, even knowing that, people in Germany or people in Japan or people in other parts of Europe, like France or in Canada or in other states, right, in America, were making what we were making, that seems so big to us. It's like, oh, we will maybe one day meet these people, but that almost was unreal, right, to think of. Whereas now it's so easy to how we are, right? We're talking now and just discussing history and things like that.
Yeah.
So I feel more than ever, if you really want to try something, go for it. Go and do it. If you want to do, let's say, stunts, I think it's very easy to see what's out there. There's so much amazing work out there
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
now. There's a lot of amazing young talent, both in stunts and outside of stunts. People that are doing it only for the passion, but then people in stunts, likewise doing it for their passion and what they want to try to do. Um, so there's so much big library, right, for someone to
Yeah.
research and do. And now you have a full camera on your phone.
Indeed.
Everyone
Yes.
now
Yeah.
has the
A camera
amazing
is
looking
really
camera.
enough now to make films.
It
Yeah.
is, which is amazing. But really, even when we did it, right,
One
that's
camera.
that's all it was. We did the same. We just used what we had as a
Yeah.
camera,
Yeah. Yeah.
made it work. And over time, I think that's what allowed us
Yeah.
as cameras naturally evolved. Guys like myself and Eric and Vlad and Zero Gravity and Real Kick, we all realized, oh, it's like riding a bike, right? You ride one version of it. As you eventually grow, the technique is still the same, right? The base is still the same.
Yeah.
Now you're just learning, okay, bike has maybe this attachment or that modification, but the idea is still the same. So, yeah, I really suggest people, if they are interested, they have plenty of research
Yeah.
and options to do it, and you just got to go for it.
Yeah. You're getting busy with the professional world. Are we going to see more indie action shorts by yourself? Are you cooking up
Uh,
something lately?
not lately, but I do have ideas to do
Okay.
some shorts. It's just not some time,
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
and right
It's
now
a
my main
busy
focus
period.
is
Yes, yes.
if it's not work, it's family.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, and like I was saying about the stuff that I do, I feel like when I feel really ready to try it, I will.
yeah,
I know that in the talk he did with Vlad, he was saying about working with other people. It's that too right now, right? There's so much amazing talent, but unlike the time that we had with people like Brendan and Mickey and Jimmy, Alvin and Guy and Monzel, Jerry, all these amazing performers
yeah,
that
yeah,
we had in LA and even in Chicago, right? Working with like Sean and Alex and Greg and all these other people that I've worked with. Everyone is just busy. They're all busy working.
yeah, yeah,
So to
indeed.
work with our usual talent is much harder to come by. So now we have to use newer talent, but we also don't have the time like we did with that other talent before with this new talent to take the time to go, okay, let's make a project this way. Now let's make a bigger project. Now let's do something even bigger.
Yeah.
Um, because they also, even though they're younger, they start to eventually work faster than we did, and then we get busy. So it's very hard to schedule
Indeed,
and balance
everyone is
everything.
now involved in his own
It
life,
is,
getting
yeah,
families, kids. Yeah, it's really
exactly,
become
or just
difficult.
professional
Yeah.
careers. So
Yeah.
it's difficult, but and I think also our sensibilities are different. Like we love to do what we love to do, but we want to make sure the quality is consistent, right?
Yeah.
Even if
Yeah.
we do something quick, we want to make sure that the feel and the tone is consistent with what we want to try to do. So I think for us, it's a little harder to just do something and go just because. I think it's fun to do that every now and then, but to do a short like how we used to,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
it is a bit more difficult.
Yeah, more
But
challenging, more
hopefully,
difficult, yes. Now we can,
yeah, hopefully,
partially you can pass the torch to the new generation, of course. You can
yeah,
mentor them, guide them, give them advices, of course. And we see the
yeah.
result of that. Like Brian, like, what is his name? I forgot his name, actually. He's doing a great job in, a lot of people are, yeah,
There are. There's a
showing
lot
their
of newer
talents.
people now. Like, I mean, Brian's obviously one of them. Jaquan, Jerry
Yeah.
Quill. There's Joseph Lay, who's been
Joseph
working
Lee,
with
yeah,
Marshall.
yeah, I wanted to say Joseph. Yeah, he's doing a
Yeah,
great job as well.
Joseph is great. In the stunt industry, there's also like Felix Bentacore and Ruben Maldonado. There's other people in New York, James Newman,
Ah, okay.
and in Canada, there's other people like
Yeah, there's
Mustafa
a,
Bulut,
yeah, a good
who's
network. Yeah.
actually Turkish as well. He's half Turkish. Mustafa. He's our stunt double on Titans for Nightwing.
Ah, okay.
All these people again have been, you know, inspired, not necessarily always from myself, but
Yeah.
like Vlad, like Eric, like Young Masters, like Andy Long, like they've all been inspired by those people of my generation, and they're doing what they love to do. They're putting
Yeah.
out content that they want to see and do, and I feel like at the times they're doing it much better than we did at that
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
because they have more access to things.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff out there.
How to follow you on the social media? I know you left Facebook already, and
Yep.
yeah, a lot of people have done that. How to follow you? I know there is a lot of platforms out there, and yeah.
So I'm really only on Instagram right now,
Okay.
which is under my name, Emmanuel
Yeah.
Manzanares. And obviously, you can still watch some videos posted on the LBP YouTube channel,
Yeah.
which is LBP Sun Chicago on YouTube. And that's really it. I try to keep a very low profile. It's like I said, and when I can be, I'm normally very private and quiet. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Indeed.
just
Indeed.
because obviously at work, you're always talking and doing things and whatnot. So any chance I get
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
have a private time, I'll
Indeed.
take it now.
There is more focus, yes, on the family, your
Yeah,
family and all that. Well, thank you, Manny. Has been a pleasure having you on the podcast in the
thank
talks,
you so
of
much.
course. I really appreciate you saving some time to be here with me. Your
Of course.
contribution is much appreciated in growing this humble concept.
No, thank you so much. And again, really appreciate fans like yourself that have followed us, since
Yeah,
we were nothing and
thank
stuck
you.
with us. But it has been very cool, to do these talks and hear from fans that have been inspired by, again, just works that we did because we thought they were good ideas, whether they were good or not. We did it for the love and passion. So thank you
Indeed.
again for your
Yeah,
time.
thank you too, brother. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully, I hope you have a good day. Thanks a lot, and
You as well.
hopefully to host you one more time again in the future, when my
Absolutely.
show is getting much bigger with a lot of views.
Awesome. I hope so.
Have a good day.
Thank you. You too. Bye bye.